All right, come on in and join us. We're so excited to have all of you with us this evening. My name is Michelle Howard, and I am the Scholarship Manager for Chicago Public Schools. And we see it is over 170, 180 students and families and participants joining us right now. So come on in the room. We are super excited to be here. We have an amazing lineup for you tonight. We've already begun our recording for this session, so this session will be recorded. We are also streaming now live on our Facebook page. And so we're just really excited to have over 278 participants with us right now. So keep coming on in. It is 6 o'clock on the dot, and we know that it is a beautiful Thursday evening. The sun is still shining outside, so we want to make sure that we give you all of this great information, but also respect your time. So come on in. We're excited to have you. This is the last scholarship information session that we'll be having for the GATE session, or for the GATE scholarship rather. And this is a dynamic opportunity for all of our students, and so we're really excited to have you with us tonight. We're looking forward to giving you all the information that you're going to need to be successful in applying for this scholarship. We want to make sure that we answer all of your questions. We have some experts on the line to assist you with that. Please make sure that you mute. Please make sure that you mute your phones. We're asking that everyone is on mute because we want to make sure that we're respecting everybody's voice. We will potentially take live questions. We are asking that you put all of your questions in the chat for now. We'll be answering them as we go through the event. So it's about 6:01. We're still admitting a few more folks. It's 330 of you participating right now. Kudos to you for spending your evening with us. Of course, there is going to be a recording of this. We are recording this session. It is also currently playing on Facebook Live. We will make each session that we've had and all of the information that we share in each of the sessions available to every person who has registered for this event. So again, know that we are going to ensure that you have everything that you need from tonight's session to help equip you to be the appropriate candidates and provide a competitive application for the GATE scholarship. So do not worry. Yes, this will be provided for you for your own personal reference after this point. So again, my name is Michelle Howard, and I serve as the Senior Scholarship Manager for Chicago Public Schools, and I am incredibly thrilled to be hosting this session for you this evening. This is the third and final GATE Scholarship Information session. Please keep in mind that this session is intended for students who are Chicago Public Schools rising seniors. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live and you're not a Chicago Public School student, you are in luck because this is a national scholarship. This is the largest national scholarship for minority student leaders. And so although all of this information that we've compiled for Chicago Public Schools is what we are using to support Chicago Public School students, we want to make sure that we're preparing any student who might be interested in this scholarship on how to be successful. So again, we're asking that all of your questions go into our chat. We will take live questions after we've gone through all the presentations. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing this evening. So we've already gone through the introductions, and again, just a little bit of the housekeeping. Make sure that you put your questions in the chat. I'll be watching the chat closely. We have other professionals and educators watching the chat as well to answer your questions. Shout out to Epic Academy. I see you here. So we're excited to have all of our different schools associated in Chicago Public Schools. We're going to be having an understanding the financial eligibility component. And why is that? Because being academically eligible for this scholarship is only one component. And we'll talk about what all of the eligibility criteria looks like, but the financial component is a huge piece. So you must be Pell Grant eligible. And we have Ms. Carly Oishi, who is from the Ladder Up organization. She is going to assist in making sure that we help students get a better understanding of everything that they need to know about that financial eligibility component. Make sure you're on mute. Everyone, make sure that you're on mute. After that, after we talk about the financial eligibility component, then I'll go into an in-depth presentation about the GATE scholarship. So I see a couple of questions. When does the GATE application open? When does it end? I'll be covering all of that as soon as we get to the financial aid component. And then after that, we have a very special treat. Joshua Bobbitt, who is a current CPS class of 2020 graduate, won the GATE scholarship for the class of 2020. So he has submitted a video that is phenomenal. We're going to watch his video. We're going to ask questions around his video, but he's going to be very helpful in sharing information about how he went through the process. Finally, we'll have the DePaul Center for Access and Attainment, Ms. Samantha Westlake, who is a CPS partner. And ultimately what the DePaul Center for Access and Attainment does for CPS is that they help edit essays for students. So we have Samantha and Natalie on the line today who are going to present the information that's necessary to help you actually know what you need to input into your GATES qualifying questionnaire. And we're going to actually show you the GATES qualifying questionnaire. It is not open yet. So you're going to get a sneak peek at the actual questionnaire that nobody has seen at this point. So you are in for great information tonight, and then we'll obviously have a Q&A session. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Ms. Carly Oishi, we have you up for our financial aid component.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in tonight's presentation. I'm just going to be doing a brief overview of the FAFSA and to give you some more information about that Pell eligibility. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
Carly, can you make sure you speak up? I see a couple of folks squinting, so if you can get closer to your microphone, that would be very helpful. We want to make sure that everyone can hear you. And again, everyone, make sure that if you have questions, please do write that in the chat, and I'll be paying close attention to your faces because I see your beautiful faces. Thanks for being here tonight. Go ahead, Carly.
Sorry, I will try to speak up. Let me get to this presentation. Okay, I'm going to be skipping around because I don't have a ton of time, and we really want to be focusing on, I want to get this out of here. Okay, my name is Carly Oishi. My organization is Ladder Up. How do I get rid of this? Sorry, I want to minimize this. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So Ladder Up helps with taxes. We also assist with things like financial literacy, and financial aid helps with the FAFSA. We also talk about award letters, student loans, college finances. So some of the most important things about the FAFSA are that you have to have a social security number. The parents do not have to have a social security number in order to complete the FAFSA, but it's very important that the student have a valid social. So unfortunately, as we're really happy about the whole DACA thing coming down from the Supreme Court today, but a DACA social security is not valid on the FAFSA. One of the steps that you can take right now, so the FAFSA does not open until October 1st, the 2021-22 application, which is the one that the Rising Seniors will be completing, will not open up until October 1st. But there are some steps that you can take before that. The most important one is actually to complete the FSA ID. This is the only way that you can electronically sign and submit your FAFSA. So just like I said, you have to have that social security number. This is how you create your FSA ID. The website is right here, fsaid.ed.gov. There is a caveat here. So one parent does need to complete this process. If you have completed it for yourself recently, or you have another child who has attended college and you already created an FSA ID FAFSA, an FSA ID login and password, you must use the same one. So if you've forgotten that information, that is something that you can recover, but you cannot create a new one. Once your social is connected to a login, there's no way to create an additional login. Okay, so FAFSA.gov is the website that you will need to go to. I know CPS is very supportive. There'll be nights and weekends and days to be able to complete this. I know it's going to be different with COVID, but there's going to be a lot of assistance around completing this application because it's so important. Not only is it analyzing your federal and state funding, but also institutional. So it's really important that you do this, but obviously for Gates, it's mandatory. Some other information that you're going to need to have on hand is all of your 2019 tax information. So right now you have until July 15th to complete your 2019 taxes, but by October 1st, when you go to do the FAFSA, you will have this information. Along with your federal returns, you'll also need to have W-2s. Asset information is something like if you own a business, if you have a secondary building that you rent out, we need the worth of that. And if you have any kind of investments outside of retirement, that would be considered an assessment, or I'm sorry, an asset. All right, so we talked about FSAID. I'm gonna skip a little bit around with the dependency. I will talk about professional judgments. So this would be, let's say you have recently lost your job and the 2019 taxes are not an accurate reflection of what is happening with your financial situation. In this case, you're still going to complete the FAFSA with your 2019 information, but then you're going to work with each school on providing basically proof to show that you were either collecting unemployment or you had a reduction in your salary. And they're going to make adjustments to your FAFSA. So maybe you're right on that edge of being eligible. I'm actually going to show you a chart that will show the eligibility. But if you are sort of on that border, it is certainly worth considering going through the professional judgment process with each individual school to see how that might change your FAFSA results. And I'm going to get to that part. So basically, the FAFSA takes all the information that you provide and spits out this number called the expected family contribution, or EFC. The EFC is what every need-based aid is based on, right? So it's a very important number and it's a sensitive number, meaning you really have to get all of the figures right. So having the correct amount of people in your household, making sure that you count every single person that's in college, it actually helps to have more. Some people think that if they say that their sibling or as a parent saying that you're in college is going to decrease how much you get. It's actually the opposite. So please be sure to be filling this out as accurately as possible so that EFC is correct. I wanted to talk about the amounts. So for 2021, the total amount for the Pell Grant is $6,345 for the whole year. And this again is based on if your expected family contribution is 0. This is loans. I don't want to go into the loans. All right, so I want to show you there is a way right now that you can estimate your financial aid. It is called the FAFSA Forecaster. It is developed by the Department of Education. And on here you can fill out some information and it will give you an estimated expected family contribution, which is really what you're looking for. There's also another site on bigfuturecollegeboard.org that gives you another opportunity to basically do an estimate of your expected family contributions. You can kind of compare the two. The one on the College Board website asks a few more questions than the FAFSA Forecaster, but since the FAFSA Forecaster is coming from Department of Ed, it's a very reliable source. And the last thing I wanted to show you was this Pell chart. So basically, if your so you see at the top, if your expected family contribution is 0, then you have the maximum eligibility, $6,345. So divided by 2 semesters, that's why you see that 3,000 figure. And as you go up, you see the Pell going down. And once you get to 5,712, this was for the 2021 year, so this upcoming fall, you are no longer eligible. So that's what you're looking for when you're doing these forecasters. If your EFC is higher than about 5,700, you are not Pell eligible. But if you are right around there and you have some circumstances that you'd like to discuss with each school to get them to change the FAFSA, then again, it's worth pursuing. So this is a really great way to know whether or not you should continue on in the process with this application, because Pell eligibility is a requirement. That is all for me, but I am going to stick around all the way to the end of the presentation if you have questions around the FAFSA.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, that was Carly Oishi. She is from the Ladder Up organization. And so keep in mind, we recognize this event usually takes place, you know, face-to-face, and it is hours, right? We do a couple of hours of sessions. But because we're doing this virtually, we want to make sure that we're giving you the information and that we also offer this information to you after this event is over. So we'll provide you with the recordings. We will provide you with the presentations. We're going to provide you also with resources, my email. So again, as you have questions and work through this process, we want to make sure that we have all of this information in your inbox so that you can go back and look through it and get help as you're going through this process. So don't worry if you don't catch every single thing. We'll be sending this back to you. Yes, you will get a copy of the financial aid chart. You will get a copy of everything that we cover in this session so that you can review it at home prior to applying for the Gates. So now the meat of this presentation is, what is the Gates Scholarship and what do you have to do to apply for it? So please keep in mind that everyone on this line is not necessarily associated, or none of us actually are associated with the Gates Scholarship. I serve as a Chicago Public Schools Scholarship Manager, so my job is to ultimately work for you, all of our CPS students, to make sure that you're doing everything, or I'm providing you with everything necessary for you to have access to scholarships. And the Gates is one of those scholarships. So what is the Gates? The Gates is a highly selective full scholarship. And the important thing on this slide is that it is for exceptional Pell-eligible minority high school seniors, which means what? In order for students to be considered exceptional, you have to do something that is above and beyond. So exceptional doesn't always mean that your grades are through the roof. We know that everybody who's been invited to this session has a 3.3 weighted GPA. We get that. But what the Gates is really looking for is students that are exceptional. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like. The Gates Scholarship is going to be awarded to 300 students across this country. 300, all right? So it's not a scholarship that's for 2 or 3 people. It is for 300 students. And so we want to make sure that we are covering all the information necessary to make sure that our students in CPS know how to provide a competitive application. Something else that's important about the eligibility for the Gates is that you must be a member of one or more of the following ethnic minority groups. So you must identify as African American, American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian and Pacific Islander American, which is also Asian American, or Hispanic American. So what does that mean? That means if on your state ID you have Asian American, or on your FAFSA information that you will put in African American, or on your census information you will put in American Indian. If you identify with those areas, then again, you are eligible for this scholarship. The Gates is looking for a specific type of student leader. Okay, so even if you're not eligible for the Gates Scholarship, we will have loads of scholarship opportunities available for students after this point. But this is specifically around what the Gates Scholarship is looking for. All right, next, the ideal candidate. Again, we've talked about students who, yes, we want you to have a good academic record, right? Specifically students who may be in the top 10% of his or her graduating class. But that is not always what the Gates is looking for. The key thing that the Gates is looking for is demonstrated leadership ability. What does that mean? So I'm going to start a poll right now. You'll get this poll, and the question is, if you are a member of the National Honor Society, answer in the poll. Okay, this is always my best example for students. Why? Because generally, the majority of you who are on this line are scholars. You're active in different activities. You're doing a number of different things. And many of you are in the National Honor Society, right? So just right now, based off the students who have responded, 46% of you who have already responded are in the National Honor Society, okay? Great, and that's phenomenal. There's some of you who are not, and that is okay. But I'm going to start another poll, and that poll is going to ask you another question. The follow-up question is, let me know if you're in the National Honor Society. Are you the treasurer? Are you the vice president? Are you the president? Let me know. So remember, I said about 46% of students who just responded in the poll said that they're in the National Honor Society, but only 9% of the students who are responding right now are leading in the National Honor Society. The Gates is looking for the leaders. So if you're in the National Honor Society and you're not leading, that's okay. But what are the areas where you are leading? Because that's what you want to highlight in your Gates application, okay? So I'm going to end this poll and share the results with you, because this is exactly what happens with our students. All of you are doing something that is great. You want to make sure that you're demonstrating leadership in whatever it is that you share, all right? So again, that National Honor Society is just an example to show you what I mean by the difference between being a part of an organization and leading an organization, okay? And showing that demonstrated leadership ability. The Gates is also looking for students with exceptional personal success skills. Exceptional personal success skills. That means emotional maturity. Students who have been motivated throughout the last 4 years. Students who have shown perseverance. So again, you have to have examples of that information for the Gates. They're not just looking for you to say, I've done well in school. They're not just looking for you to say, I've been a part of NHS. They're looking for you to say, I have been a leader. This is what I've done. I've done this over so many years. Elizabeth, I like that response. Elizabeth said, oh, so basically me. Yes, Elizabeth, you are who the Gates is looking for. So again, you want to make sure that you're giving the best overview of you in your Gates qualifying questionnaire, okay? So moving on, we're going to dig a little deeper now. What the Gates Scholarship covers, and this is the #1 question that we have. The Gates covers the full cost of attendance, and the cost of attendance includes tuition, it includes fees, room, board, books, in some instances transportation, and it may include other personal costs. So let's say, for instance, you are going to a school, and there are several schools that are still going to be having students come to the school in the fall, and you say, hey, I'm here, but I don't have a laptop. You let the Gates know, they'll potentially provide you with a laptop. So again, the Gates is about filling every gap that they can to support students, all right? The other thing that's really important is, and we're going to come back to your questions. I'll be sure to follow up with your questions. But another thing that's important about the Gates is that you have to be able to complete the free application for federal student aid, which is a FAFSA. And while we had Ms. Oishi sharing initially around Pell Grant eligibility, because you must be eligible for the Pell Grant to be eligible to apply for this scholarship. So again, that's a very important component, because they use that information to then say the amount that the scholarship needs to be for you. Okay? The scholarship is also renewable. What does that mean? That means that you don't just get the Gates for your first year in school. You get the Gates to cover up until your graduation or 5 years. All right? So whichever comes first. If it takes you 5 years to graduate, the Gates will cover that. However, if you graduate before 5 years, they'll cover the 4 years that are required for you to graduate. So again, the Gates is a full cost of attendance scholarship. They're looking to cover as much as they can to ensure that money is not an issue for you to be successful in college. Now, we're going to take a deeper dive at, again, just looking at the eligibility. We talked through this a few seconds ago, but these are some of the things that are non-negotiable. You have to be a high school senior. So, again, we're sharing this presentation because you'll see in just a few minutes that this application or the Gates questionnaire opens prior to you actually going into your senior year. So, again, it's very important that you are a high school senior. And if you are graduating early, meaning that you are you might be considered a junior, and not technically the class of 2021, if you're graduating early, you must identify yourself as a senior in your school system. So again, that's very important for some of our students who have been a part of the academic center programs and all of that. But you must be a high school senior. Again, you must fall into the outlined ethnicities. You must be Pell Grant eligible. You must be a U.S. citizen, national, or permanent resident. You must have the 3.3 weighted, cumulative weighted GPA. All right, and so we've gone through in Chicago Public Schools and tried to identify all of the students who met the ethnicity criteria based on the information that you share with us in CPS, who meet the academic criteria, but what we don't know is the financial component, which is why it's very, very important that you use that FAFSA forecaster to help you understand your financial eligibility. Now, I see a couple of questions around ethnicity in the chat group. CPS does not determine your ethnicity, right? CPS does not determine the ethnicity that's required to apply for the Gates Scholarship. Keep that in mind. But it's very important that if you do not fall into one of these ethnic groups, that you don't, and this is going to sound harsh, but don't waste your time on this scholarship, because they're specifically looking for students who fit into these categories. And so if you do not have, or you have not identified in one of these categories, it is okay, but we do not determine what that looks like for you. So again, if you have Asian American or Asian Pacific Islander or African American or Hispanic American, if those are how you identify in, again, your documents, the documents that you submit for your FAFSA, meaning the tax information, how you submit the information, or if that's how you identify on your state ID or things of that nature, that is what, and it's really the census too, but that is what the Gates use to determine the ethnicity. So again, this is not anything that you have to guess about. You either fit into those categories or you do not, okay? The other big component about the Gates Scholarship is that you must be planning to enroll in a 4-year degree program. So right now, I know a lot of things are up in the air and we're thinking about finances, but if you get the Gates Scholarship, finances will not be a question, okay? So we want to make sure that you are focused on enrolling in a 4-year institution, because that is the only institution that is going to be eligible for you to receive the Gates Scholarship. Make sure that you are on mute. We want to make sure that everyone is on mute. All right. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the overview of the timeline. So the Gates Scholarship literally spans over the entire school year. You'll notice here that the Gates Qualifying Questionnaire opens July 15th. And the reason that we have these types of sessions that we're hosting right now is because you're out of school. But the Gates Scholarship, the Gates Qualifying Questionnaire closes September 15th, meaning you would have only been in school for about 2 weeks before the Gates application closes. So it's very important for us to make sure that we provide you with this overview and this information prior to the school year beginning, all right? The next thing, the verification and selection process. So phase 1 is the Gates Qualifying Questionnaire. The second phase is basically the Gates organization sifting through the Gates Qualifying Questionnaire and verifying information, and then selecting students to move into the second phase. They'll be selecting 2,000 students to go into the semifinalist phase. That component requires students to submit questions, essay questions. So keep this in mind. If you don't complete your questionnaire with excellence, then you won't be invited to even get the essay question. So it's really important that you get through that questionnaire and get through it well, so that you might be invited to be the semifinalist group where you're answering essay questions. Then you'll move on to the next phase. And again, that segment, so we've covered July, we've gone all the way through December and January with the second phase. So the final phase goes into March. So in March, 600 finalists will be notified, right? But 600 finalists would have been interviewed, all right? So the first component is the Gates Qualifying Questionnaire. The second component is the essay questions. The third component is the interview. We're going to give you some tips and information around the interview, but later on in this call, you will see a feedback video from one of the Gates students who is currently a Gates winner right now, and he's going to talk about his experience. So The last step is that the Gates students will be selected in April, and then they'll move on to going to a summer institute in June. So that's the entire school year of applying and being selected for this scholarship. All right. I'm going to show you, I see a couple questions about the questionnaire. I'm going to show that to you in just a few minutes. So on the Gates website, you'll find an informational video. We're not going to play that video now, but that video is linked in this presentation. So when we share this presentation with you, you can review the video. Once the Gates website is up and running for the new school or for the new group of students, which will be early July, you'll be able to see the video there as well. But we have it linked for you, and it's basically going to cover everything that we're covering in our presentation right now. So what is really important for you to recognize is the GatesScholarship.org is the Gates website. That is the website where you will go to get the questionnaire information. The Gates website is where you will go to do any and every component associated with the Gates Scholarship. That means that even when we send information out to you, even when we share information to you, you will then have to visit the Gates website to make sure that you have everything that you need. Another component that's going to be important is going to the Gates website. Literally right now, you can go to the Gates website and start your profile. When you start your profile, it puts you in the Gates database. So if somebody asks, are you going to send us the questionnaire? No, we're not going to send you the questionnaire, but if you go to the Gates website, complete your student profile, they will let you know via email when when the Gates questionnaire opens up. They will send you a notification. So something that's going to be very important is that you check your email closely. But I highly encourage all students right now to, over the next couple of days, go on to the GatesScholarship.org website and start your profile. That profile is going to be key to keeping you in the loop about things that will be associated with the Gates Scholarship. Important dates. Again, we've already kind of given you an overview of what the Gates looks like over time, but the first phase opens July 15th. So July 15th, you can go onto the Gates website and you will see that the questionnaire will be available to you. That qualifying questionnaire closes on September 15th. September 15th. Yes, there are recommendations that are going to be needed for this scholarship, but only if you get invited to the next phase. Right now, you want to focus on the Gates qualifying questionnaire, and in just a few minutes, you will hear from the DePaul team that helps that's going to help students review the Gates qualifying questionnaire. They're going to actually show it to you, and then they also help edit. So if you need help editing your information before you submit it, the DePaul team is going to help you do that. So the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the interview component. So again, remember, there's 3 components associated with the Gates Scholarship. The first one is the Gates qualifying questionnaire that you will have access to on July 5th. The second component is the essay questions, where students are invited to complete essay questions. The third component is the interview. Over the last couple of years, one of the areas that was a struggle for us in Chicago Public Schools, our students, was the interview. So I've been fortunate enough this school year, I was a part of the team that was able to review the actual essays, and then I also had an opportunity to interview students, and you'll actually hear from one of the students that I interviewed in the video coming up. So the interview, we want to share a couple things about the interview, and I see a question here about the SAT or the ACT. Those are not factors for the Gates Scholarship. So your ACT score, your SAT score is not a factor. What they're looking for is the 3.3 weighted GPA, strong academic background, the financial aid eligibility component for the Pell Grant. You do not have to worry about the SAT or the ACT. Will they ask you for that information? Yes. Are they scoring you on that information? No. Okay? So a couple things I want to share about the interview, and I won't belabor these points because Joshua, the current Gates Scholar, is going to share a bit about what his interview experience was like. But it's really important that you share your background, right? So they have some information about you based on the information that you put in your interview. But you want to go into this interview with information about who you are, how you've come to who you are, things that are very unique to you. So you want to ensure that you stay giving information about your background. You want to stay away from focusing on your academics. Why? Because we've already seen that information. Your transcript has been submitted by the time that you're doing the interview. So again, none of that stuff around the academics, unless it directly relates to an example that you have about you overcoming, it's really, you don't have to belabor the point of you have strong academics, all right? Something else I want to say about these tips that we're giving out is that these are not affiliated with the Gates. These are suggestions that we've been able to put together based on our experience with students who've been selected and who've applied for the Gates Scholarship. So the next slide is going to share some other key components. You want to always highlight your critical thinking skills, how you're connected to your community, not just being a part of your community, but the connection that you have there, and that you're willing to work with others. So obviously, many of you are a part of team sports, team organizations, but what shows that you are not only a leader, but also a team player? That information is going to be very important to recognize as you go through the interview component. I think there's only about 2 other key things. Yes, the interview will be quick. It's no less than 30 minutes, no more than an hour. Josh was going to talk about a few other things in his video about his actual interview. But one of the things that I recognized when I was interviewing students is that we let you select the location. So you say where you want us to meet you. Many of the students who I interviewed 4 students. And I'll say that 3 out of the 4 students that I interviewed are Gates scholars right now. It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them, but the majority of them picked Starbucks, right? Starbucks is not a bad place to have an interview, but if you're picking Starbucks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the campus of UIC, well, it's a pretty busy space. So it's very important that the public space that you select for your interview is a space where you will not only feel comfortable, but where you can get a seat in order to have the interview actually happen. So I think that's all that I'm going to share about the interview component. Yeah, we're going to let Joshua's going to cover all these other steps. So that is the most information that we can give you right now about the overview of the Gates. We'll answer some of your questions as we move on to the presentation, but let's hear from Joshua right now because he's going to share some important things for you to listen up and key components for you to consider with the interview.
I'm having some video playback issues.
Okay, let's see. Well, let's go on to have Samantha present, and then we'll come back to the video. All right, so we'll do our best to make sure that the video can play. It played on the last 2 sessions, so we'll go ahead and have Samantha Westlake and Natalie Velasquez from the DePaul Writing Center, or the DePaul Center for Access and Attainment. They're going to walk us through the actual Gates questionnaire. So you're about to see what the questionnaire looks like, and then we'll come back to the video.
So hi, my name is Samantha Westlake. I am a graduate student at DePaul University, and Natalie and I both work in DePaul Center for Access and Attainment. So today we're going to talk about our essay editing services as well as go through the Gates questionnaire with you. All right, so the Gates Scholarship, as Michelle mentioned, there are 300 of them, which does make it highly competitive since that is throughout the country. And so we want to make sure that this phase 1, the questionnaire, is really something that's taking your time and focus, because that will determine whether you move on or not. So I know questionnaires can kind of seem something that you can do while you're watching TV, but this is something that you really want to put your focus into since it determines your progress for the entirety of the scholarship.
So then how can our office, College of Access and Attainment at DePaul University help you? So we can help you through virtual essay editing, and the way that you will be able to submit your essays for the Gates Scholarship is by visiting this link right here. You'll be able to click it once you receive the presentation, and it'll take you to a Google form where you'll fill out your information. So just your name, high school, what type of essay that you're sending. So obviously in this case, it's the Gates Scholarship, and the name of the scholarship. Again, it's the Gates Scholarship in this case. And then the essay prompt. So we just want to know like what your essay is focusing on. That way we know what type of comments to give back. And then also, of course, a shareable link. So then if you have a Google Doc and you're trying to share it with us, what we recommend you do is if you could please click this share button on the right-hand corner. And then once you click it, you'll be able to, the screen will pop up, which will say get shareable link. And then this next window will pop up. And then if you could please click, anyone with the link can edit. That way we are able to view your document and able to give you feedback right away. And then you're going to get this link once you do all those steps. If you could please copy and paste that link back into the Google form in order for your Google form to be complete. If you don't have a Google document, that is fine. If you're writing your essay on Microsoft Word, you can just send us an email directly. And of course, please include your first and last name, the high school that you're attending, the name of the scholarship, in this case, the Gates Scholarship, and the essay prompt. And of course, please don't forget to attach the essay. So then once you send us your email and all the information that we need, we will be able to provide you feedback within 1 business day. So that's about 2 essays. If you do 4 essays, then that means we'll get back to you in 2 days. We're usually really quick in responding back and making sure that you have your comments ready for you to move on into the application. And then once your feedback is ready, you will receive an email notification that everything is completed. So the way that we can help you with your essay is we're able to brainstorm along with you, providing more ideas, different things that maybe you're missing out on, or maybe we could help you with your grammar if you're missing a comma or just a punctuation, things like that. And of course, also essay structure. So for example, if we suggest that maybe this piece sounds better over here or stuff like that. And then also maybe we can help you with word choice. We'll be able to be like, well, this word sounds stronger than this one. We are trained by the Office of the Writing Center here at DePaul, so we do have the capacity to be able to help you with your essay. However, what we don't do is that we don't write essays for you. If you could please send us a draft of your essay ready for us to edit and revise. And we, unfortunately, we won't guarantee that you will win. At the end of the day, it is the committee of the application who will be reviewing your essay, but we will try our best, of course.
All right, so just before we get into the Gates questionnaire, I'll quickly answer some of the questions that I saw pop up in the chat. Our essay editing service is open to all Chicago high school students. Today we're talking about the Gates, but there are tons of other scholarships that you can apply for that will require essay questions. So we will edit all of those essays as well. We will edit like school assignments. If you have like an English paper that you really need someone else to look over, we're happy to do that. If you're applying to college and you need an entrance essay for like your Common App, even if you're not applying to DePaul, we're still happy to look over those essays as well. So today we're talking about the Gates, but we will edit essays from all across the spectrum. So now getting into our Gates questionnaire, it's a very kind of comprehensive overview of your leadership, and it really paints a picture of who you are as a student leader. So as Michelle said at the beginning, things like being a leader in your National Honor Society will definitely help paint that leadership portrait. But if that's not you, there are still a lot of other ways that you can demonstrate your leadership abilities through this questionnaire. So my personal recommendation would be, even before you start the questionnaire, just write down every leadership activity that you've been involved with. You want to keep it relevant to what your plans are for college. I mean, if you've done a science fair in middle school and you're applying to a creative writing program in college, maybe that's not the most relevant thing you could be spending your time on, but you do want to include as many examples of your leadership abilities in this questionnaire as possible. And so the questionnaire will cover anything from your academic leadership to your sports and curriculars and volunteering. So it will go into great detail about all the things you've been involved with, and you just want to include as many things as possible. You don't want to lie or kind of pad your credits, because that will come back if it's been seen that you've been untruthful. But at the same time, you do want to include as many things as you can possibly find relevant to your application. And so this will go into as far as sports, even differentiating between whether you're doing individual sports or team sports, because those are different examples of the type of leader you are, whether you're on a team or by yourself. So it covers sports, but it also covers extracurriculars like drama and music and cheerleading and dance. So it does give you a lot of opportunities, whatever your passions are and whatever your involvement has been in high school. And so again, if you were involved in non-athletics, there are opportunities to even add other activities that you've been involved in. So that's why I suggest just kind of writing down that list to make sure anything that you have that's relevant, you can include, even if there's not necessarily a box that you can take it off. And so again, it goes into great detail just about every different kind of sport. And then it will also go into detail about different like summer programs you might have been involved in, different honors and academic societies you've been involved in. So we'll see that in a second as well. Yeah, so it'll also include jobs and internships. And if you haven't worked at all yet in high school, that's not a problem. But if you have and you think that's a good example of your leadership abilities, that's definitely something to include. And so again, it includes everything like summer programs, other academic focused and honors programs that you might have been involved in. So definitely include everything that you've done that is relevant to your application. And so it does get very specific. So don't just skip over a section because you think, oh, that's not me. Take the time to read everything just in case you're reminded of something you may have forgotten that you've even done, because that will all help attest to your leadership abilities. And so you can contact us at depaulpeerguides@gmail.com. As Natalie mentioned, we offer essay editing services both for the GATE scholarships and for any other scholarship or college or class essay that you might be writing. And then if you have questions about getting to a further phase in the GATE scholarship that would involve those essay questions, you can feel free to contact us about that as well.
Thank you all so much. Again, thank you to DePaul. We're going to take a couple of questions right now. We're having a little technical difficulty with the video. Carly, I just sent you the link to the deck. Because you're a co-host, if you can go in and pull up the deck and come to that video so we can play it, that would be awesome. In the meantime, we're going to answer a couple of questions. So if you have questions, we've been seeing a few questions in the chat. We really want to get this video up and running for you, though, because Joshua is going to cover a lot about his experience. So go ahead and start shooting some of the questions in the chat, because we want to make sure that we respond to you. Can we include activities from outside of school as well? Absolutely. You should include all the activities that are necessary. Yes, this PowerPoint is going to be available. We're recording this session. We'll also make everything that we cover in this session available to you. Can we go over the EFC again really quickly? So yes, we can talk about the estimated family contribution, but again, it's about being Pell Grant eligible, and that is the most important component. Carly, are you there?
I am. I'm trying to open this.
Okay, so we'll give Carly just a second. How long does the questionnaire take? So the funny thing is, the questionnaire does not take long, and it does seem fairly simple. So it's really important that you put forth very thoughtful responses. Samantha, did you want to give some more insight around the best way to make those responses in that questionnaire?
Yeah, so I would say go through it more than once. I don't know for sure, but I assume it's a type of questionnaire where you can save it and come back to it later. And so again, just make sure you're reading through everything really thoroughly. Don't just skip over a section because you assume it doesn't apply to you. So it can vary in length of how long it'll take based on how much time you're putting into reading things. But I believe it takes like usually about 45 minutes to an hour max to get through the whole thing.
So a great question here I see is ASM, which is After School Matters, considered employed or an extracurricular. So you can determine which route you want to go, right? So if you have nothing under employment, then you can add After School Matters. If you have several things under employment, then you can add After School Matters as extracurriculum. But again, you want to be mindful and thoughtful about what you're putting into your questionnaire, because you want to build out as much as you can in your questionnaire. So is there a certain amount of money for parents to make for you to be eligible for the scholarship? Technically, that's what's being determined through the free application for federal student aid and the FAFSA forecaster that we're having families fill out, because the FAFSA is actually not available or available to open until October 1st. So the FAFSA forecaster is what families can use to get an idea of where they land. And again, this scholarship is looking for a particular type of student, so you must be Pell Grant eligible to be able to apply for this scholarship. All right, so we're gonna continue to answer questions, but we're gonna try to go ahead and play this video because again, this video is going to answer a gang of questions and give you a lot of great feedback from someone who is actually a Gates scholar right now. So we're going to allow Carly to share her screen. Jordan, I see your question around the table that shows the Pell Grant eligibility. We're going to share that with you. So don't worry. All right, let's see if we can get this going. Go ahead, Carly. Yes, Daniel. Joshua is going to Northwestern, and he's going to share everything about his experience right now. It's going to be a great video.
Hi everyone, my name is Joshua Bobbitt. I am a recent graduate of Whitney Indian High School, now getting Northwestern University. At Northwestern, I plan on double majoring in mathematics and Chinese language and culture, and minoring in ethnic American. A little bit about myself. These last 4 years at Whitney, my main goal has been to get as active as possible. I've held leadership positions clubs like African American Culture Club, National Hair Club. I was just worked with Student Conscious for 3 years, and just try to get as active as possible. School events that were happening throughout the 4 years. Outside of school, I just went to China last summer with the CPS group, study abroad, and summer before that, I did a language program studying Mandarin at University of Chicago, Start Talk. I'm also a part of the National Society.
So sorry, I see we're having an issue with the video. I see it. And this video is embedded into the presentation, so we are going to share this with you. So we'll go ahead and stop the video for now, but we are going to make this video available to you. It will be in the presentation, so sorry about that. But what Joshua basically will talk about is his experience as a student He'll talk about, he'll be sharing some of the things that he experienced in his interview. He's going to talk about what he wore in his interview, which is really important, right? He's going to talk about everything that led up to him applying for this scholarship. And one of the most incredible things that I love to hear students say is that they learned about this scholarship from participating in this session. So Joshua was literally in the session just like this, but last school year. So again, it's really important for you to take advantage of the information that we're sharing. And this event is usually a 3-hour event. You know, we do all sorts of stuff in this event. But tonight, we're trying to make sure that we give you a great overview of the information that you need, and then we share all of it with you. And then ultimately, we make sure that we give you all of the presentations, we give you access to me as a scholarship manager and other resources, the DePaul Writing Center, the ladder up information for the financial component. So again, it's really about us making sure that we give you everything that you need in order for you to be successful. And that is not just a one-hitter quitter. This is going to take some time. This is a scholarship, again, that we've shown you apply through over the entire school year. So we intend for you to take advantage of one of the things that Joshua is going to say is taking advantage of the time. Take your time with this information. Take your time with putting together the questionnaire components, because again, that is the only thing that you have. That is the only thing that you will have in order to be able to go through this scholarship. So again, we're hoping that this information is going to be very helpful for you. I see a couple of questions here in the chat. Can and should service trips done before high school be included in the questionnaire? I would say yes. Why is that? We're having some screen issues here, but why is that? Because you want to show that you're a well-rounded student, right? You want to show that you've been focused on hard work all the way up to this point. So again, don't be mindful of what you share. Be mindful of what you share, and then also be mindful of making sure that you're building out your character and your person and the whole student that you are throughout the process of what you submit into that questionnaire. Again, Samantha said, it's going to seem like a little simple, sit back and chill. These are just a couple questions, not a big deal, but this is it. This is the only component of the application that you will see before you're invited to answer the essay questions. So it's really important that you do that. Have any aspects of the scholarship changed due to COVID? I'm sure that they have, but as of right now, none of that has been shared. So one of the things that changed in the midst of COVID happening is that of the 4 interviews that I did with students, one of them had to be done virtually. But the great thing about the Gates Scholarship is doing virtual interviews was already an option before COVID happened. So students could choose to do the in-person interview, or they could choose to do the virtual interview. And so the last interview had to be done virtually. So again, the Gates is very flexible around being accessible for students. The FAFSA application opens up October 1st. So you won't be able to officially complete your FAFSA until October 1st, but that is why we offer the FAFSA, or the FAFSA Forecaster is offered to help students in the process of figuring out what their financial eligibility will be. A great question, can your personal roles and responsibilities at home show your growth? Absolutely. If you are doing things at home, if you have to be responsible, remember earlier in the presentation, and you'll see this again when we share it with you, one of the things that they're looking for is emotional maturity, right? And so in many instances, that is being responsible for things for some of us in our household. So yes, you just have to make sure that you are writing that in a way that reflects emotional maturity. And if you're not sure what that looks like, give it your best shot, and then send a version of that to the DePaul team to help review and help you edit to make sure that you're writing and putting forth your best effort in that question. Great question. Can you attend a performing arts college with a 4-year degree? yes, as long as if you're asking, can you attend a performing arts college that's going to offer you a 4-year degree? Yes, the Gates is specifically looking for students going to a 4-year institution. So as long as it is a accredited institution, you can apply. Does the school you intend to attend affect how they select you? No. As long as you are planning again to attend a 4-year school, they're not looking for you to go to a specific college or institution. They're just looking for you to go to a 4-year institution. Can you double major? Absolutely. You can double major. The Gates does not have a preference on your major. If a person spends most of their time during high school as well as college, during high school and college courses instead of athletic information, does that play a part in the selection? Absolutely, because again, it's all about the way that you write the information, right? So you want to make sure that you highlight that you have the emotional maturity to know that you needed to take college courses, right? That's excellent, that you persevered. Excellent. So again, it's all about the way that you put it in the questionnaire. Very good. The Gates is looking to award 300 students, but 300 students across the country. So keep in mind that it's not just the students in Chicago Public Schools, although we're a very large school district. It is students across the country. They're looking to select 300 across the country. Any more questions? I hate that we're not able to make that video work for you, but we'll have that in your inbox by early next week. You'll be able to go through it. You'll also have my email, so if you have questions, you can write me, and we'll follow up with you. What about IB students? Should they include the extra, these questions are so serious. Should they include the extra information? Yes. So if you are an IB student, that's totally fine. You should include whatever is extra or additional around the IB programming. How soon can we expect the PowerPoint? So we are making sure that we get all and compile all of the information over the last 3 sessions. So we're looking to provide this information for you early next week. Please be patient, but it is coming. Don't worry. The application doesn't open until July 15th. You will have this information by next week. What if your leadership positions are very limited? And I'm not sure how limiting leadership positions are, or if you're saying that if you don't have a lot of leadership positions, but if you, all of us have some natural leadership abilities. So it's not just about being a leader, but it's also about showing the skill set of a leader, right? So did you always speak up in class? Were you a peer guide, peer mentor, different things of that nature? And if you have questions about your leadership abilities or what you can outline as leadership abilities, write them down, send them to the DePaul team, and they will help you edit that information.
Full country.
Stay on mute unless you actually have a question. Do leadership roles in middle school count? So I would only say that leadership roles in middle school count if they're applicable to what you've done over time. So if you've been in the choir at your at your elementary school, you were in the choir at church, now you're in the choir in high school, and now you're the president of the choir, you're the treasurer, it has to link. So you don't want to just toss in every single thing. You want to toss in things that make sense and draw a complete picture of you and what you've done over time. Emotional maturity, there's a question here about should you include anything about overcoming depression. So keep in mind that this is a questionnaire. So this is not an essay response yet. You might be invited to answer questions around the essay that will give you more of an opportunity to outline some personal experiences. But again, keep in mind, this is a questionnaire. So they're only looking for bullet point information in a sense. Can you say that you were the 8th grade valedictorian? Absolutely. We do have another question here just specifically around the financial aid component. And I do want to acknowledge that question. So many questions are coming in so fast. So that question has moved, but I think that it was a question around Pell Grant eligibility. So Carly, did you want to share a little more about Pell Grant eligibility?
Yeah, the most important thing is to just try to get an idea of what your expected family contribution is. So that's why we mentioned the FAFSA forecaster. This is a chance for you to go on and put some income information and some household information to get a rough idea of what your expected family contribution is. And then I know they're going to share that Pell table with you so you can see right away what your expected family contribution is. And then on that Pell chart table, are you Pell eligible? So that's all it is, right? It's eligibility. It's not that your EFC is 0. It's not that you're eligible for the maximum amount. It's just that you're eligible for at least $1 of Pell Grant. So to be able to get ahead of that, I just highly recommend using the forecaster so that you aren't surprised and go through this process. And October 1st, you do the FAFSA and it's like, my EFC is 25,000. So yeah, use the forecasting tool, go to the College Board, you can do that one as well. And then lastly, you know, if your circumstances have changed since you filed your 2019 taxes, there is an opportunity to present that case to each school. The school has the power to make changes in your FAFSA that do have an effect on your EFC. So let's say your EFC is around 7,000, but you had a job loss. It's very important to go through the professional judgment with each college so that they can make adjustments to that FAFSA so that you are Pell eligible.
Great, thank you for that, Carly. These questions are coming so fast, I hope we're covering them. A good question that I saw is, can you still receive the posse and can you still do other scholarships or accept other scholarships with the Gates? Yes, the Gates, the way that I describe the Gates is the Gates will cover any of the gaps. Right? They're trying to make sure that you have a gated opportunity to go straight towards graduation, right? So if you get another scholarship, and whether that be the Posse, the Quest Bridge, any of these other large scholarships, you can, or any small scholarships, they will work in tandem with the Gates. So again, the Gates is about giving you a straight gate to success. What is a FAFSA forecaster? So you must not have been in a little earlier, but the FAFSA forecaster is a tool that will help give you an overview. It's almost like a mock FAFSA application. So it will help give you information around, you put in your personal information and it will give you information around your financial eligibility. And what you're trying to really find is if you are Pell Grant eligible. That's what you have to be in order to apply for the Gates Scholarship. Must be Pell Grant eligible. And here is the link for that. Also in the chat, we have a survey. So we want to make sure that we get your feedback. Obviously, transitioning over to a virtual platform has been a little tough for us too, but we want to make sure that this session has been helpful for you, that we're giving you the tools necessary for you to be successful. As I said, all of the recordings of this session and the previous 2 sessions that we've had, as well as all of the presentation information and all of the videos will be available for you next week. We'll be sending that directly to you via your email. We're also going to make it available on a website that we create specifically for CPS students. How much does the Gates cover? It covers everything, including everything that's not covered by financial aid. So tuition, room, board, transportation, anything associated with you going and being successful in school. Once you put your information in the FAFSA forecaster, no, it does not stay or keep your information. You have to ultimately complete the FAFSA October 1st. So it can't cover a year of pharmacy school. No, the Gates will not cover pharmacy school. It is covering 4 to 5 years of a 4-year accredited institution. Do you have to maintain a certain GPA? There is a GPA criteria for you to ensure that you stay on. I believe it's that 3.0 GPA, but again, the Gates is an organization that's going to work on a case-by-case basis. So if you're having some issues, they want you to reach out to them as you're having the issues, and they'll continue to work with students to make sure that you remain successful. So again, it is something that is handled on a case-by-case basis. I also want to make sure that you should already have my email address because that's what you've used to register and that's where your confirmation came from. But this is my email that you can use to stay in the loop. And if you have questions, please do let me know. But really, it's about making sure that we give you everything that you need to be successful. And this presentation and information is a part of that. Let me see a few more questions. Does Advantage Arts program, which takes time during school hours and then after school hours, regard as extra? Absolutely, because that's not in the normal school day. It is an advanced art program. So yes, that is a special opportunity, and you do want to make sure that you highlight that, because not all students are eligible to even participate in that. Are references required? If so, whom are they seeking the references from? So yes, they are going to ask for letters of recommendation and information for you to complete, for someone to complete on your behalf. But again, that is once you're asked to get to that point, and then you will also be able to, Joshua will talk about that in his video as well. So we'll make sure, again, that you see that video and that he gives you more information around his experience there. So the recommendation is definitely an important component, because, again, you want to make sure that you're getting it from someone who's going to put forth their best effort in talking about who you are, right? So someone who is seeing you grow over time, someone who you know is going to say that you're a phenomenal and spectacular student, someone who is familiar with the activities that you're a part of. And so having a brag sheet and helping provide that to your the person who's writing your recommendation is important, but the person should really know you well. They should be able to say some things off the top of their head about you, because, again, this is the largest national scholarship for student leaders. You don't want to get somebody who you just met the other day, right? You don't want to get somebody who you just had for one school year who may know you but might not really know you that well. You want to get somebody who knows you well, who's going to be able to speak highly of where you are and where you've come from and what you've accomplished. There is only 2, I believe, recommendations that they're looking for. But again, the recommendations are electronic, so that's an important component. And then they're going to, you have to get invited to the phase where recommendations are important. So again, keep that in mind. Gear Up, is Gear Up a part of something? Okay, wait, let me do, so one question around the recommendations, does it have to be by a teacher? It does have to be by someone who is in the education component. It doesn't have to be a current teacher, but it does have to be someone who has had educational experience with you, so that is going to be important. And then someone asked about Gear Up. So Gear Up is a grant-funded program that many of our students participate in their schools. Yes, that can be a program that you list that you've been a part of, because it does help prepare for students to go to college. And Mr. Williams is making a good point. Family members actually, they cannot serve as recommenders. It cannot be someone who is related to you, but it does need to be someone who understands who you are and is familiar with you. So that's something that's important. Yes, community leaders can fall into that bracket as well. Mentors can fall into that bracket as well. Does submitting a FAFSA application early play a role in how much financial aid a student receives? Technically, no. However, there are different grants associated, like the MAP grant, that only goes up to a certain amount of time. So I'm actually going to let Carly go ahead and answer the question around the submitting the FAFSA early play a part in how much money you get.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Just as Michelle mentioned, the MAP grant runs out. It runs out at a different month every year, depending on how many students apply and how many are eligible. But it's also really important to get it done for the institution. The institution might use the date that you completed the FAFSA as the determining factor. Let's say you have an EFC of 0 and another student has a 0. EFC for a need-based grant, they'll use the date that you completed the FAFSA as the determining factor. So absolutely do your FAFSA as close to October 1st as possible.
All right. So school counselors, can school counselors serve, and administrators like your principals serve as recommenders? Yes. Your pastors? Yes. These are all great examples of good recommenders. There are also going to be some outlines if you're invited to that component of the application. Can extracurricular leaders do a letter of recommendation? Yes, they can. There's more than one that's required, so yes, that's a good option. Can a choir conductor that I've had since 3rd grade? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great one. Dual enrollment, no, will not keep you from applying from the gate. Not at all. Not at all. Can my son still get a recommendation from a previous volunteer job from the Park District 3 years ago? Yes, if he actually knows the Park District folks and they know him well, yes, that would be a good one. Can you send more than 2 letters of recommendation? No, all of this is done electronically. So again, they're looking, they're going to be capturing this information online, and they're only going to ask you for a particular 2, and that is going to be all. Can politicians serve as recommenders? Absolutely, if they know you well, you've done community service with them. Yes, that would be a good person if you've worked in their office. Yes, that would be a good option. Yes, it can be a manager at your job or from your internship, yes. But again, the key thing that I want you to recognize is that it can be someone who knows you well who is not a family member. So it's really important for you to make sure that you are picking the best people, and these are great examples, very good examples. This can be stressful, but imagine how stressful this would be if you had no one and no team working to get you equipped in advance. Some students have to learn about the Gates Scholarship on their own. You have been identified as a student who may be eligible, and we are here to support you in the process. So we've provided you with resources for writing. We've provided you with myself, who again is the scholarship manager, to support you. We have college and career professionals who are in the chat and who will also be available to you over the summer to support you. We've provided you with financial aid information and a resource for that. So please, we know that this is a lot, but that is why we're presenting it to you right now, because we do not want you to miss this opportunity. We want to make sure that you know that we are here to support you. Our job is to support you through this process. Imagine if you found out about this scholarship after it was open. Imagine if you found out about the scholarship once you got to school in September, all right? So again, you are ahead of the game. You are absolutely ahead of the game, and not only are you ahead of the game, you have folks here to help align to support you in this process. So I'll give you about another 20 minutes of feeling like this is going to be stressful, and then what I want you to do is use that energy to reach out to me, reach out to these resources that we've put together on this line, and get to work, right? So we're not even in July yet. So you have a couple of days where you can start writing down the things that you think you need to know. We're going to give you this presentation by next week. So remember, some students haven't even seen the Gates qualifying questionnaire. You're about to have the information in your inbox. So don't worry, we've got you covered. And again, this is really about making sure that you're prepared. And that is why we do this session at the very end of your junior year, so that you're walking in the summer, into the summer with PowerPoint presentations, with resources, with contacts to know what to do, all right? So you are in good hands. Don't worry. They paid us to support you, and I can guarantee you I'm going to do my job well. So again, even if you want to get that frustration out, shoot me an email. We can talk about it. I'm the college scholarships at cps.edu. That is my email address. You have several folks in the chat, Mr. Eric Williams, Mr. Corey Hardiman, Ms. Lysandra Barnett, several of our college and career specialists who work year-round, who are here again to support you. So don't feel like this is something that you can't do. Understand that this is something that we expect you to do, and we expect you to do it well, and we're going to help you do it. Okay, Yes, the DePaul team, they do editing. They do editing not just for this Gates scholarship, but they do editing for any college scholarships that you have that you're going to be applying for any college applications that you're going to be applying for. So again, these are resources that you're going to be able to use all throughout the year. So you're already on the come up. Trust me, we got you covered. Any more questions? We got about 10 more minutes, and I want to make sure that we answer as many questions as we can. Are the resources free? Absolutely. You don't have to pay a dime for any of this. The DePaul resource is free. The Ladder Up resource for financial aid support is free. My resource is free. Your parents pay their taxes, so I get paid. No, I'm joking. There's a question here about being awarded the state. So there is a special way for you to complete your FAFSA, and that's okay. We will make sure that we connect you to Carly Oishi. And Carly, if you could drop your email into the chat. And then, of course, if you want to reach out to me directly, we have folks in CPS. Who can assist you around that as well. Yes, the college scholarships is my scholarship email. That is the account that comes directly to me. So when in doubt, email me at that account, and I'll be able to direct you to any and every resource that you might need as it relates to this scholarship and anything that you might need moving forward. Yes, we will send you the links. Not only will we send you the links, we will send you the replay of this session and all of the PowerPoints. So the FAFSA is required. You must complete the FAFSA in order to get the information necessary for this scholarship. So if you have questions around the FAFSA, it can be completed regardless of parent support. Ms. Oishi, did you want to jump in? She can give us some more feedback there.
Yeah, unfortunately, your willingness or ability to pay for college is not related to filling out the FAFSA. Every parent is really helping their student get eligibility for financial aid by completing it. So, you know, even if you aren't able to, even if you don't put your student on your taxes as a dependent, you still have to put your information on the FAFSA and complete it.
Thanks for that. Usually around this time of the year, we have the number of Gates winners for our district. Because of things that are happening with COVID and some adjustments that are being made to some of the schools' institutions, they're not, the Gates is not releasing the number or the information around the actual Gates winners until later in the fall. So we were very fortunate because I had the opportunity to interview 4 students for the Gates Scholarship. And of the 4 students that I interviewed, 3 of them won. So that's how we were able to get Joshua's video and a couple of other students who are contacts. They've already shared with me that they would love to share their contact with some of you so that you can write and talk to them directly around their experience. So again, this is information that we're going to share with you next week. It will include some of the contacts of some of our current Gates winners from the class of 2020 who can help you understand how to navigate this process. What do you think is the most important point from Joshua's video that we should pay attention to since we couldn't watch it together? That's a great question, Angel. I would say what was most important about what Joshua shared is that he really took his time with this, right? So he shared that he didn't submit his questionnaire until the day that it was due, but he had been working on the information associated with his questionnaire for months, all right? So it really is important for you to take your time. Do not rush this process. You're already in the driver's seat by getting this in advance, right? So really take your time. Look at the Gates qualifying questionnaire, that the screenshots that we have for you when we send you this presentation next week. You'll be able to see what some of the questions are. Start jotting down what some of your what you would like some of your responses to be, and then again, share that with someone to help you edit those responses. Because again, the only thing that the Gates team is going to see about you right now is what you put in that questionnaire. And I'm telling you, we used to do this session later in the summer. So we used to do this session in August, right? But we moved the session from August to June because some students had already submitted their questionnaire when we got them into the information sessions in August. So it was really important for us to try to catch you before the application opened to ensure we said to you, hey, don't let this little questionnaire fool you. The questionnaire is the application. So again, you're in at much of an advantage right now to have access to what it's going to look like, to literally start your profile on the Gates website so that they can begin to email you and give you prompts when things are happening. And then also, you have our contact to help you build out the best application. So again, we're about you doing the most, or having the most competitive essay. So it's really, not essay, questionnaire. So it's really important that you take advantage of these opportunities right now to get the information. We also want to make sure that you give us feedback about this experience. I know that the video was a little choppy and we couldn't quite play that the way we had anticipated, but you will get it. And it's, you know, the virtual experience is not the same, but our job and our role with this was to make sure that we're providing you with the best information as best we can right now. And then again, like I said, we're going to give you all of this in your email. So it's coming. Don't worry. So we have about 5 more minutes before this session is over. If you have questions, again, throw them in the chat. If we haven't addressed your questions, feel free to write me at my email account, and we will follow up with you directly because this is about you. It's so important that we make sure that we give you what you need to be successful. I always say that I can't guarantee a scholarship, but I can guarantee that you won't get a scholarship if you don't apply. So you must apply. And if you find out that you're not eligible to apply for the Gates Scholarship, it is okay. We have loads of other scholarships that are going to be available to you at the opening of the school year. But the reason that we're focused and pushing this scholarship right now is because, as we said, it opens in July. So it's really important for us to get this information to you as early as possible, and then we'll focus on the other scholarships that are opening later on in the school year once next school year begins. How can we find out about other scholarships? That's my job. I'm the scholarship manager. We'll be turning over our resources come July. So trust me, you're already in good hands because you're already connected to my college scholarships email. So we'll be sending out information directly to you to have you sign up for scholarship alerts for next school year. That'll be happening in July. So don't worry, we have you covered. Just make sure that you continuously read your email because that is what you're going to miss out on. If you don't check your email, you're going to miss a lot of opportunity. So we want to make sure that you already begin to check your emails frequently to make sure that you are covering all of your bases with everything that we're trying to send you out. I check my email every day, all day, unfortunately. So if you email me, I ask for about a 24 to 48-hour window, but I'm generally looking at it immediately. So just shoot me an email, and I'll be sure to follow up. And technically, if you've registered for this session, you have my email because I am the one who sent out the confirmation. And it is all over our social media as well. So please do follow our social media handles. Like right now, we're streaming this on our Facebook page. So follow on the Facebook page, our Instagram, our Twitter, all of that. So make sure that you're following up. We'll talk about Academic Works when the school year begins. Academic Works is our web-based tool for scholarships. Joshua is actually going to talk about Academic Works because that's where he found his scholarships. That is the web-based tool that I run. We'll be turning that tool over for next school year. So don't worry, we'll have that information available to you. My scholarship email is collegescholarships with an S, collegescholarships@cps.edu. College scholarships at cps.edu. I am CPS Scholarships on all social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for that, Ms. Randall Jones. And then on Facebook, we are Chicago Public Schools Scholarships and Post-Secondary Information. So again, all of those social media handles are within my college scholarships account. And so if you write me at the College Scholarships account, you will get an auto response that will give you pretty much a good overview of everything from our social media to the resources that we have available. Now, if you follow me, I won't follow back. Sorry. We don't focus on following you back. We just make sure that we're in your timeline. Are there any schools that don't accept the Gates Scholarship? The Gates Scholarship is for any school in this nation, right? So it has to be the United States or U.S. territory, and it has to be a four-year institution. So if you decide to go to school internationally, the Gates will not cover international institutions. So you have to stay in the United States or U.S. territory. Absolutely. So we're very happy. It's the 7:29. We're about to shut this down. But again, make sure you email me. Make sure you finish up this survey. We'll also be sharing this information out with you as well. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I hope this was helpful for all of you. We do apologize for the glitches that we had on Tuesday. So if you were a student who tried to participate on Tuesday, we apologize for that glitch. And we apologize for the video glitch today, but we'll be sure to get all of this information in your inbox. So make sure that you're checking your emails next week. Thank you so much. We are so proud of you. Welcome to senior year. And don't forget that Joshua learned about this scholarship by being in this session last year. So we wholeheartedly believe that there are some Gates scholars in this room right now. So we're excited about that. We're looking forward to supporting you as you move forward in your senior year. Again, my email is collegescholarships@cps.edu, collegescholarships@cps.edu. Congratulations on moving into your senior year, and we look forward to supporting you as you matriculate through this final year of high school. Have a great evening, and we will see you soon.